Welcome back to Black Girl Ambition with your girl, Nia Baxter, where I hold spaces for successful, ambitious, badass women to have candid conversations about our unique experiences in corporate America and in entrepreneurship, and striving for happiness, as you know, on our own damn terms. Today, I am speaking with Quinn Conyers, a self-proclaimed ambitious Black girl, broadcast the brilliance in Black women's voices in business by training them how to turn conversations into cash so that they can profit from public speaking. She is a sought-after speaker and event MC extraordinaire. She has worked with brands like Nike, Walmart, PayPal, Visa, United Nations. Quinn coins her superpower as her E factor, which includes a beautiful blend of energy, engagement, and excitement. And if you don't believe me, go to QuinnConyers.com and see the woman in action. She is also the author of 2 books, Speak Up, The Ultimate Guide to Dominate in the Speaking Industry, and Speak Black Woman, How Women in Business Can Profit from Public Speaking. And Quinn apparently doesn't sleep because she's also taught speech communications for 5 years at Coppin State University, as well as being a wife and mom to 2 young boys who are 7 and 9. Quinn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
What was your journey to a career in public speaking, and how did you get your start?
You know, it's interesting because I started when I was at Westchester University in undergrad. I was in college, and I remember that at that point in time, we necessarily couldn't pick out what classes we were going to take. So all of us kind of got our syllabus, and on our syllabus, it said Intro to Public Speaking, right? And everybody started freaking out. I hate public speaking. It's horrible. Oh my goodness, I'm afraid of public speaking. And I felt like I was the only one like, what's the problem? Give me the microphone, right? And not only was I not afraid of the class, I excelled. And I quickly noticed that when I talk, people listen. So I began to really kind of drill down. I ended up becoming a communication major and taking every type of speech or public speaking class you could underneath that umbrella. So I took Intro to Public Speaking, Advanced Public Speaking, Argument and Debate, Communicating on Television and Radio. Every single class under that is where I not only excelled at, I'm like, this is something that I want to do when I grow up. So that's really how I started. I quickly noticed that what was other people's fear, I began to flourish in. And that's when kind of like a light bulb went off for me.
That's so interesting. Were you a kid who was always looking for opportunities to be in front of an audience? Like, were you a natural kind of performer, speaker? Because it is something that gives people fear. So for you to not have that fear, was that what do you think that was rooted in?
I don't think I've ever thought about it that way. I just was not a shy kid. I was always vocal. I was always expressive. I didn't have problems making new friends. I was talkative. I was definitely the little girl that Quinn's a great student, but talks too much. That was definitely me. But there was never a point where I felt like I was nervous or afraid to speak and use my voice.
Yes.
I've never had to find it. It was already there. I just activated it.
Already there. Just activated it.
Yeah.
I love that. So what was your very first paid speaking job?
First off, after I graduated from Westchester University, I ended up moving to DC and I was getting my master's in mass communication media studies from Howard University. And at Howard, I remember somebody asking me, like, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I'm like, I want to be a speaker. I want to be a professional speaker. And they were like, well, how much are you going to charge? And I was just like, wait, people get paid to do this? Like, this is a real thing? I just thought I was making up something. And I ended up reaching out to several colleges that had gotten grants. So Howard University ended up getting a $4.5 million grant from the Kauffman Foundation to see if entrepreneurship could be taught on campus. So I was very much interested in business, entrepreneurship, and speaking. And once somebody asked me, how much do you charge? I was like, ooh, I need to figure out the business side of this and not just be the talent. So I began to reach out to the other colleges and universities who got this grant money because I knew they had some extra money. So my first engagement was $750 at a college, and you couldn't tell me I didn't make it. I mean, like, that's the time where you were getting work study, and $7.50 was a lot of money, right? So $750 for 1 hour. I mean, I thought I was in heaven. So I was just like, how can I duplicate? So my first engagement was at a college. It was $750. And I just was like, sign me up for this. It was better than drug money in an hour. Like, I was here for it. So that was my first paid engagement.
Well, shout out to the old work study programs. I remember that. I was working at the phone bank, calling alumni asking for money.
Right. For like $7 an hour. Like, it's ridiculous.
Like $7 an hour. Legit.
Oh, here they are. Gosh. Yeah. So I know, yeah, work study jobs is like, you were lucky to get $7 an hour. Them checks was like $129 and you thought you were doing something. That was enough for pizza.
Right? Enough for some pizza. So I know you've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but were you always an entrepreneur, or did you jump right into that, or did you spend some time in corporate?
I did. It's both. So when I graduated from Howard University, I ended up getting a job working for United Way of Central Maryland. I was a fundraiser. So I was in charge of going after various donors and convincing them to give to several charities. But even within that job, I was like, this is my first and last full-time job. Like, I always knew that I wanted to be a full-time entrepreneur. Like, that was always, kind of top of mind. However, the jobs that I had allowed me to use my gift. So I was able to excel in them. So as what I call a professional fundraiser, I had to speak a lot. I had to give presentations. I had to motivate donors, which worked well in my behalf and in my favor because it's the speaking gift that I'm still using to this day. So a lot of the jobs that I had really allowed me to polish and perfect my communication skills, which allowed me to advance. But I always knew coming in. I mean, I had probably about four corporate salary positions, and every job I got was like, this is my first and last full-time job. I'm like, literally, this is my third job. I'm like, this is my first and last full-time job. Like, I spoke that over myself. Like, this is my first and last full-time job. It's my first and last full-time job until it became a reality, which was 10 years ago. Now I have been full-time since then.
But even taking your experiences from corporate, you were able to apply those. They help you to sharpen your skills in entrepreneurship too. So there is something to the path.
Yeah. And I would even say, to me, I think what really stood out about my corporate career, because a lot of it is transferable skills. What I loved about my corporate experience was the one-on-many factor. So that's one of the things that I loved as well. So for example, a lot of times I could meet with an individual donor and get them to give money, but I love doing presentations, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, because now I'm in front of a group of 30, 40, 50. Now I can get $70,000 in donations, right? So that is one thing I was like, ooh, when I'm doing business, what is a model that I can do that could be one-on-many versus one-on-one? So that's a key transferable skill that I took from corporate and applied to my entrepreneurial career.
That's very smart. One-on-many instead of one-on-one to really
Correct.
scale.
And most of us get stuck on one-on-one. I want to do coaching one-on-one. I'm trying to find clients one-on-one, where everything I'm doing is a one-on-one. Like you have a website. I need to do your website one-on-one. I need to coach you on your finances one-on-one. And I was like, that's a quick burnout. And you have to have, a quantity type of thing. Whereas if I speak or I present or whatever I do, if it can be me in a crowd, and I'm convincing and I'm a captivating communicator, that can move the ball forward quicker than me trying to do a bunch of one-on-one.
Because it helps you to scale and use your energy more wisely.
Correct.
Because you're often, the time that you would spend into preparing a presentation for one, you'd put that same time into preparing a presentation for many. But then the outcome of that is more, just a better use of your time.
Yeah. And I was good at it. So it's almost like you could be up there speaking and be a horrible communicator. I think what worked well is I love the one-on-many model, but I did have a gift of gab. I knew how to tell stories. I knew how to connect. I knew how to push your emotional buttons so you're pulling out your wallet. Like, all of this, I knew how to do very well. So it worked in my favor, because you can want to do one-on-many, but if you have piss poor communication skills, it might not work. So not only did I understand it because of my background in college, I was a communication major. It worked itself out for me.
So what was your process for defining your personal brand? And what's your specific niche in the speaking industry?
That's a great question. My process for defining my personal brand is something that I don't think we really know. I think that a lot of times people tell you, especially now through social media, to create your personal brand. And a lot of us don't know. We are confirmed and affirmed by other people, right? So I didn't really realize I had a personal brand. And so somebody would say, I love the way you show up. You always show up with color. You always show up confidently. Part of my brand is I used to speak and do different opportunities in heels. And after a while, I was like not good with that. Like my feet were killing me. So I started wearing sneakers, but I was still very stylish, right? So it was other people commenting me on what came natural that I leaned into as my personal brand. So I don't think your personal brand is something that you have to create or manufacture. I think it's about people being more intentional and deliberate about what we're already doing and amplifying that. So I would be the girl that would show up with red lipstick, purple lipstick, pink lipstick. I didn't think anything of it until I looked around and everybody had on, a gray or a navy blue or a black suit. And here I come with a pink blazer with a yellow jumper underneath it, right? So I don't think that I purposely created. I think that I know that I'm vibrant, I am vocal, I am full of life internally, and I dress that way externally. So I also knew that we live in a very black, white, beige, lukewarm world. And I just believed that I was supposed to be polka dot. I'm supposed to be magenta. I'm supposed to be blue. So that's kind of how I began to show up. And then when other people just say, oh my gosh, you're so brave. I could never wear a yellow blazer. I'm like, it's a yellow blazer.
It's a blazer.
I'm gonna need you to get your life together for a yellow blazer. Or, oh my gosh, you have like, I don't know if I have one in my hair. I'm trying to find it right now since y'all can see me. Hold on, let me find it real quick. It will be so simple as string. Oh, here it goes. Just little strings in my hair. Oh my gosh, I could never. I'm like, oh my God, y'all need to get it together. So I think it was just me showing up authentically and then other people kind of affirming and confirming me. And then I realized like, oh my goodness, I am showing up, in a different way. And I began to lean into that. And then the sneakers and then the vibrancy began to become a part of my personal brand versus me being intentional about it. I'm just how I am.
Right, right. And I was going to say that showing up as who you are and being authentic, and then that becoming the differentiator. What are topics that you're typically hired to speak on?
So two things. Well, number one, I love speaking to women entrepreneurs and teaching them how to use their voice to grow their businesses. I believe that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially women of color, Black women, we raise our hand and say, yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. Yes, I want to be a business owner. And then with that, they get opportunities to be a podcast guest. They get requests to speak. They get requests to be on panels. They get requests to do workshops. They would get all these type of requests. But more importantly, they are required to use their voices. And we don't know how, or we are not maximizing or monetizing those opportunities. So when it comes to speaking, whether I'm doing a workshop or doing keynote speaking, I absolutely love with all my heart teaching women how to use speaking as a strategy to intentionally grow their business. Now, my niche has been hosting and emceeing because I quickly realized that a lot of events and conferences and associations who produce events really don't have someone who's making sure that the event is seamless and energizing and engaging so the attendees have a great experience. So although I do speak to women entrepreneurs, I am really building a brand about being an MC, an event host, where I am the glue that holds your events together and making sure that your speakers and your sponsors feel warm and welcomed, valued, appreciated, and visible at your event. And that's a key piece that I think that a lot of organizations are missing. They will spend so much on food and beverage, decor, getting the right speakers. But if you don't have someone that is going to make sure that, every part of your event is held together effortlessly and with excellence, you're dropping the ball. So I really do enjoy that I have found a speaker niche within the industry that I'm doing really, really good at, because there's not a lot of, number one, women professional event MCs, and there's definitely not a lot of Black women professional event MCs. So anytime I can sound like a superstar, sign me up.
I love that is your passion, just pouring into Black women and helping them understand how to use speaking as a tool to build their businesses. Can you talk about some of the ways that you've seen public speaking, the power of public speaking, maximize and monetize opportunities for Black women?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, when it comes to you being able to communicate, number one, I would say speaking and progressing your business, especially as a Black woman, you have to understand how to articulate your awesomeness. If you are able to tell people who you are and what you do and the ROI you provide, you are 10 steps ahead of everyone else. And there's so many Black women entrepreneurs who know they have an awesome and amazing product or service, but when it comes to explaining it to other people, they are failing. Their product or
Wow.
service isn't broken. They don't know how to be the spokesperson for their business or their brand. So I have seen that people who have, average products do very well because they know how to explain their product. They know how to sell their product. They know how to, articulate the difference between their products and other people. And on the reverse side of that, entrepreneurs who have very great products who struggle with speaking on behalf of their business, if they don't know how to verbalize their value, if they don't have a tight 30-second or 6-second elevator pitch, they're struggling and they're trying to lower the price, or they're thinking that it's the market. Nah, sis, it's you. You don't know how to talk about your product in a way that's exciting. It sounds average. It sounds basic. You have to talk about what it is that you do so much that not only are you excited, your excitement becomes contagious, and that contagious converts to clients. And that's what I believe is missing. So I have seen women really put effort and energy in being able to speak about their products and services in a way that really grows their business. Another way that I've seen that communication and speaking has been advantageous to business owners is through my personal experience and working with other entrepreneurs. Before I was speaking, I also had a bag business called Purse Paparazzi. And Purse Paparazzi was an amazing bag business. I specialized in custom purses for women who are members of a sorority or who went to an HBCU. I was licensed with them, and I ended up getting a couple of opportunities, but I needed money to grow my business. And I didn't feel comfortable or confident really going into a bank and asking for a loan or a line of credit. So there was these things called business pitch competitions. And if you're not familiar, it is when you give your best 60-second, 90-minute, sometimes you get 3 or 4 minutes to pitch your business. And if you have the best pitch, you walk away with cash prizes. So I won and coached other entrepreneurs to win over $400,000 in business pitch competitions. Again, if you know how to speak on behalf of your business, it can be a funding source for your business as well. So those are just 2 ways that I've seen that being a great speaker can really boost your business.
That also is a reminder for me to tell my listeners, if you have not already, go back and listen to the very first episode of Black Girl Ambition, where we get into the venture capital space, navigating that, but then also using pitch competitions to fund your business and entrepreneurial ventures as well. If you haven't listened already to Your Baby is Ugly and It's Going Nowhere, then go ahead and hit play on that too. You've spoken about the power of selling yourself and a really good elevator pitch. What are the key pieces of a great elevator pitch? Are there practical strategies that you can give entrepreneurs or the corporate baddies who want to craft a great elevator pitch but don't quite know how to go about selling themselves?
I would say the biggest thing to crafting a clear, concise, and compelling elevator pitch is to make sure that not only are you energized, because that's something that you can't Google, you have to be super excited about the product or service. So energy and being excited about what you offer is going to also allow people to perk up and pay attention to you. But the biggest thing is, I think that we overlook is actually word choice. So in my opinion, one of the biggest way to make a very powerful elevator pitch is to use what I call wealthy words or luxury language. And
I love this already.
So a lot of times I find, especially women, especially Black women, when we're explaining who we are and what we do to other people, whether it's potential clients or we're explaining our services to investors or angel or venture capitalists, we're using a lot of weak words. And I'm going to give you an example. One of the weak words that I believe that should be banned from our mouth, especially as Black women, I'm going to go ahead and go there because we at the Black Girl Ambition, is the word help. Follow me for a second. You want to start a business? I can help you. You need your taxes done? I can help you. Do you want to start a nonprofit? I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. And what happens is subconsciously you are positioning, promoting, and packaging your services as the help. So when people come to you, they want your help. They want to pick your brain. And I believe that what you do is so much bigger than the help, so much so that if you look at certain movies, we have been positioning ourselves as the help for so long, they made a movie out of us. I believe that what we do is awesome and amazing, and we can describe it with more wealthier words. So you don't help anyone. You can coach them, assist them, partner with them, elevate them, but you are not the help as an entrepreneur. You are the hero to somebody else's business. Somebody desperately needs what you have to offer. You have the solution to fix their problem, but they're not seeing you as valuable because you're talking about helping them. So stop helping them and coach them, assist them, partner with them, elevate them, empower them. And I believe if you use more luxury language or wealthy words, you will elevate the value of what you do and people will see you differently. But if you keep telling people that you're going to help them, they, for whatever reason, discount that, because we're not the help.
Love this so damn much. Never heard that before. Wealthy words, luxury language.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
writing them down. What do you think of the word we? Right? Like we versus I. Do you have a perspective on that?
I do. I don't like we. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think that when you say we and it's just you, let it just be you, sis. Like if I'm talking to you, you know what I mean? Unless you got something going on with your pronouns, it's usually you and I, right? So it's like, here's how I can serve you. Here's how I can support you. Here's how you and I can partner. I believe sometimes when you say we, it takes off the commitment to you. Right? Whereas I say I'm telling you, I'm personally invested in your growth. I am personally with you in this journey. So for me, I might say, even if I do have a team, because I have several people who I work with, I will say my team and I still include myself because at the end of the day, you will get pieces of me if you decide to work with me, if you hire me, whether that is for some coaching and development or that is as a speaker, as an MC, okay, I'm so excited to work with you. I will get over that information. If it doesn't come from me, it'll come from Charlotte Barnes, who's my director of operations. So I'm still a part of it. I don't say, someone from my team. I name that person because I think sometimes we're not personal enough and people want to do business, what they feel like are human beings, not them being passed off. And sometimes people say we, I'll be like, well, who's all on your team? And then when I really find out it's just you, why don't you just say I? It's okay. It's all right.
Right. I also think that it comes from like these words help. I think Black women in particular are socialized to be humble. Like socialized to humble ourselves, socialized to take up less space, socialized to not take the credit, to share the credit. Now, mind you, this space is called Black Girl Ambition, and we ain't about none of that. None of those things here. But I think about experiences where speaking very confidently on your behalf about what you are capable of and knowing what you are capable of is seen in the eyes of some people as arrogant. Now, I don't think that should have any bearing on how we move and how we sell ourselves, but it's just recognizing that there is that socialization out there to just, like be humble, Black woman, be humble.
But your humbleness is hurting you. Let's be 100% clear. Your humbleness is hurting you. You are absolutely right. We have been socialized. We have been conditioned to play the background. And that's history. You know what I'm saying? As far as you as a Black woman, supposed to be seen but not heard. Don't speak unless spoken to. A lot of that is especially passed down from generation to generation. You speaking up or you making eye contact could get you killed in a certain area. I think that there has been a lot of invisible shackles mentally that we have had to carry. And I think that at some point in time, you have to let it go or it's going to really hold you back. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not even our own thought process. We are carrying along the trauma and the disenfranchisement of our grandmothers and mothers who couldn't speak up. So now we're carrying that with us, do what you're told. Don't make too much of a fuss, and there's so many limitations put on us, we have to be twice as good, which was a lie. We were 10 times better, but they had to mentally manipulate us to make us feel that way. So we embodied it as a norm. No. My 10%, my 20% is better than your 100% any day. And you don't want me to realize that. And once I realize that, I'm going to start making moves and drawing circles around you because I'm tired of your mediocrity winning when my excellence is what needs to be appreciated.
Girl, we see that even now with the argument against DEI. Like meritocracy, which is just, it's infuriating.
Yeah, it is.
It is infuriating.
And is mediocreness getting frustrated with excellence. So we have to bring it down. We have to get it back, whatever that looks like. But yeah, it's a mess.
Like being frustrated that that so-called excellence isn't showing up in the white bodies that they want it to show up in or used to it showing up in. It's a hot mess completely.
Absolutely.
How can public speaking be used as a tool to build wealth or additional revenue stream for women? How have you seen that work?
Well, absolutely. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you can use speaking a couple different ways. You can use speaking as a revenue stream, meaning that you have a space on your website that people can hire you and book you to speak, whether it's a keynote speaker or even as a workshop presenter. So I would definitely say that. Speaking can also be used as a marketing strategy. So you can go and speak about your product or service. People in the audience can inquire about your services. And it can also be used as lead generation. So for example, there's been plenty of times where I might not have been getting paid to speak, but I knew that there were women business owners in the audience. So I would go and I would speak. I would do a 30-minute presentation. I would do a 45-minute presentation about how to use your voice in your business. And then what I would do is, and I can do this as well, is I would then say, I know I talked about luxury language because people are just freaking flabbergasted about luxury language and how I've coined this term. If you want my luxury language list, I gave you the word help, but there are other words that you shouldn't be using. If you want that list, go to, quinnconyers.com under resources and you can download it. So what happens is now I have a whole bunch of people who download this list. I have your email. So if I do a luxury language training, now I can email you and invite you, right? But I spoke for free basically, and I used it as a strategy to get leads because I gave you something of value. I have your email. So if I want to do a workshop on creating your elevator pitch with luxury language, or if you want to hire me to create your verbal business card, that's what I call it. Now I have direct access to you by doing this potential workshop at no charge. So I always say as a business owner, speaking should be used in your business as a revenue stream, a marketing strategy, or lead generation tool. I've made a lot of money off of speaking for free because I had a strategy in place. And that's what I teach other women. It's not about you getting the money. Like, especially if you do want to get into more professional speaking, you might need to do a couple engagements to get the testimonials, to get the footage, to get all those things. So it's about how do you maximize and monetize these speaking opportunities to grow your business. So a lot of times we say yes to panel discussions. We say yes to podcasts. We say yes to workshops and we don't have a plan. So it's like, oh, I just spoke to those people, but you didn't capture anybody's email. Like it's a strategy, sis. You gotta work it out. So that's kind of like, you don't just do it just to do it. There's a rhyme, there's a reason. And many of us don't know how to capitalize on that.
Yes. Get the footage, get the testimonials, get the email, make it an investment.
Yes.
I want to shift and talk about rewiring our minds for abundance. And I want to talk about this because when we first met and we were having our prep conversation and you were talking to me about, you don't want to be booked and busy. You don't want to be booked and busy. You want to be peaceful and paid.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I had actually never heard the term peaceful and paid before. So what does that look like for you in practice? Just talk to us a bit more about it.
Yeah, I think that we live in a hustle culture. We live in I gotta do, and we're not being. We're not human doings. We're human beings. And I think that a lot of times because we don't want to miss out, because we have a lack mentality, you know what I mean? And myself included, like I'm still on my peaceful and paid journey, that we think that we have to do the most. We have to get the most clients. We have to do all the things, email, lose sleep, not eat right, not go to the gym. You know what I mean? Miss out on connecting with our girlfriends, not talking business, but just having a glass of wine and catching up, And I think that this culture has really made us feel like booked and busy is the win. Booked and busy is the flex. And what happens is you can be booked and busy and that leads to burnout. Now you're frustrated. Now when it's time to celebrate, you ain't got no girlfriends to call because you was MIA for 4 months trying to build this business, right? You look up and you gain 20, 30 pounds because you've been on the go and just eating whatever, you know what I mean? Because of the fact that you were trying to be booked and busy. So I told myself, as I grow, especially as a mom, especially as a wife, especially as a friend, that I cherish my friendships. I want to be a good mom. So I have to be intentional about not saying yes to everything, but saying yes to the things that are in alignment. And for me, that looks like being peaceful and paid. Like, I want to make the money, but I don't want to do it on behalf of my sanity. I don't want to make the money and I ain't got no edges. You know what I mean? I don't want to make the money and I'm out here 2 seconds from being on my 600-pound life. Like, I want to make it, you know what I mean? But I don't want to make it in a way that compromises my livelihood. So
Right.
I really have made a decree and a declare that I want to make this money, God. We had a conversation about my millionaire status, but I want to be peaceful in the process. I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be worried. I don't want to feel like I got to scrap and pay and take the lower end because I don't know where my next engagement is coming from. So it's just a mindset that I try to live like, okay, how can I be peaceful and paid? What does that look like? What are the opportunities that are in alignment with that? Because you can get paid, $100,000, but now your life is not your own. When they call, you better answer. There's so many things that come into that. And that's not why I signed up to be an entrepreneur.
How do you hold yourself accountable to that, peaceful and paid? Because it's so easy to just go back into that scarcity mindset, make decisions from that place. Like, how do you hold yourself accountable? I remember you said, you posed a question. You said you like to ask yourself, what would abundance do?
Yeah. So I think holding myself accountable is a daily process, because I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm like, oh Lord, what's going on? I need to speak. I need an engagement. And then it's rooted. I mean, I definitely have daily morning devotion time, me and God, you know what I mean? We have to talk it out, because sometimes, I'll be out here wilding on earth, right? So I need him to bring me back in. But to be honest with you, it's a daily practice, because life starts lifing. You start looking at your account, you start looking at the bills, like it's a real thing. One of those things, like I have to talk to myself. People talk about, talking and your self-talk. I have to check that self-talk. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can talk yourself into something crazy, and just being mindful. But honestly, I love that I begin to ask myself, what would abundance do? And that's not me. So shout out to Dr. Darnielle Jervy Harmon. She is an amazing woman. She has a community where she's teaching women how to make their move to millions. And I was at an event where she was a speaker, and then I was also hosting an event where she had a bracelet on and it said, what would abundance do? And it really grabbed my attention. So I asked her, I said, Dr. Darnielle, tell me more about this bracelet. What would abundance do? And she basically broke down how she trains herself to have an abundant mindset. She even has alarms on her phone that says it's abundance o'clock, to remind herself to think in abundance. And I love that. So sometimes when my scarcity mindset kicks in, like you said, I have to ask myself, it's just a reframe. What would abundance do? Am I making this decision out of scarcity and fear, or is this a decision based out of abundance? And that's one of the ways I kind of bring myself back.
With that in mind, what pitfalls have you seen other Black women fall into? Like, with maybe it's their pricing, maybe it's like time wasted on crafting proposals that don't convert. Like, what are pitfalls that you've seen Black women fall into, and some strategies that maybe they could use to get out of that?
Pitfalls that Black women run into, especially as entrepreneurs, I think that number one, they have a very one-on-one business model approach. So they're only making money if it's just them and somebody else. I think that's a thing. They don't have a one-on-many strategy, which I think can be limiting. Number two, I think that we charge too low. We don't charge enough. Or if we're looking to make more money, we think that making more money requires more clients. We don't want to take our product from $1,000 to $2,500, or we don't want to have a product that's $2,500 and take it to a $5,000 product. So I don't think that we charge enough for our intellectual property. And I believe that your intellectual property can earn you an income, right? So I think that's it. I also think that pitfall is we think it got to be so grand and so genius. And one of my favorite quotes is from TD Jakes, and he said, your genius is in your normal. And I think that a lot of times we're trying to figure out this next best thing, or we're trying to figure out something that can make us a lot of money, and we are disregarding and overlooking our natural God-given talent. So for example, I'm great at speaking. So instead of me trying to be great at speaking, I see that you have Black girl ambition. What if podcasting wasn't my thing? And I'm like, you know what? I see her over here killing it. Let me try to do a podcast as well. But girl, you are natural born X, Y, and Z. Or this person who is great at numbers, Excel spreadsheets, they can see all the things. I mean, they are a natural accountant, but they don't know anything about it. They don't know anybody else who's making money off of accounting, and they see somebody who is a model and who's killing it. So now you're over here trying to be a model when you're supposed to be an accountant, right? That numbers come natural to you. Like my best friend, she's an accountant. I'm like, I look at this Excel spreadsheet and I want to throw up. And she's just like, are you serious? All you got to do is this equation and E equals parentheses. I'm like, just do it for me. I don't have it. Right. So I think a huge mistake or pitfall is we don't lean into our natural genius. We trying to out here create something brand new. We trying to do something that we saw work for somebody else. And we're not cashing in on the convenience of our genius.
Lean into your natural genius. And there are so many of us who, when something comes natural to you, like when you have that gift, it's very easy to say, I'm not good at that. It's just a thing I do. Right? Because when it's something that comes easy to us, we can easily discount it. But it doesn't have to be, I mean, to your point, it doesn't have to be such a big, grand thing. I recently started reading a book and paying more attention to a motivational speaker who I know has been around forever, Mel Robbins, who wrote Let Them. And I'm currently reading it now. Great book and, great motivational insights, but nothing's rocket science.
No,
nothing's like that
we've heard
novel.
It all before. We've heard it all before, but sometimes the seventh time is when it clicks.
Right.
That's it. Right. It's the seventh time when it clicks. And, to your point too, is sometimes when it comes to what comes natural to you is you have to be confirmed and affirmed by somebody else, right? Because it comes so natural, you discredit it, you disregard it, you don't give it the props that it deserves. It's going to take somebody else that says, you know what, Quinn, you're amazing at. Now, if 10 people tell you you're amazing at something, you're going to have to look into it, right? I've never had someone tell me I was amazing at swimming, right? But every time I open my mouth, someone's like, oh my gosh, you have a way with words. You're such a great speaker. And after a while, I'm like, well, hey, if all these people say I'm a great speaker, let me go ahead and see if I can make some money off of this, So this is why you have to have community. If you're out here trying to be an entrepreneur or a business owner by yourself, you're doing yourself a big disservice. You have to be in community because you can see things in other people and vice versa. People can see stuff in you. That's the confirmation and affirmation you need to move forward. And that doesn't happen because we don't recognize our own strength. I don't even know what I look like without a mirror. I can't see myself without a mirror. The only way that I can see me is if I hold up something. So I need other people to reflect my genius to me.
And surrounding yourself with community and in community, especially as an entrepreneur, is so, so important. So I'm glad you brought that up. And that's also why Black Girl Ambition as a platform is here to build and grow that community for Black women so they can see the genius in themselves reflected. Thank you so much for being here today, Quinn. I've got a couple more questions for you. So one of them is, what is your greatest ambition as an ambitious Black girl? What is your greatest ambition?
Greatest ambition is to host events, or more importantly, host on a TV national level. So when I think about certain things, I am a cheerleader and champion for all things Black excellence. So my greatest ambition, my goal is I would love to host something like BET Honors. I would be in heaven if I can host something like the NAACP Image Awards or Black Women in Sports, anything that I can be a part of to kind of put that cherry on top that involves elevating, celebrating, and cheerleading the things that we're doing well is where I want to be. But ultimately, my ambition is taking my speaking and my emceeing skill set and applying it to a television hosting career. That is one of my greatest ambitions.
And I see it.
Come on, say it with me now. Say it with me.
Any final advice or words of wisdom for the Black Girl Ambition listeners?
Yeah, first of all, I love the podcast title, Black Girl Ambition. And I feel like ambition hasn't always been a thing that we could boldly embrace. Sometimes our ambitious nature has had us ostracized. Sometimes we've been told to tone down our ambition. Sometimes we were told that because we are ambitious, that can be converted into being angry or overbearing. And I think that for all your listeners, I want you to understand that being ambitious is a superpower. superpower. And if people feel like you're too much, you're not around the right group of people. You want to be around a community of women who pour into, uplift, encourage, and motivate your ambition. So you might have to take an inventory of who's around you and ask yourself, are these men and women feeding my ambition, or are they intimidated by my ambition? And if they're intimidated by your ambition, you need to be around other people who are comfortable and confident that maybe $100,000 is not what you want. You want to be around people who are cool with you going after being a millionaire. And if you're already a millionaire and you're like, I want more, don't let nobody kill your ambitious dreams. Get around a bunch of billionaires. So I'm also a firm believer of ambitious people need to be around each other so we can lift each other up. We can motivate. But if there are people around you who are hating on your ambition because they don't have it, that's not your people.
Not your people, not your problem. Where can my listeners find you, Quinn?
Yeah, I'm definitely on all social media platforms under Quinn Conyers. However, if you are serious, definitely find me on LinkedIn. That is where I love to hang out and love to build a deeper connection. But I am on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. But if you look under Quinn Conyers on LinkedIn, that is the place where I would love to connect with you. And tell me that you found me on this podcast.
Thank you so much for being here today, Quinn. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
Overzealous when I'm thinking about the cash flow. I never had no handouts, just came natural. I've been tested so much, all these wrestlers nice.